Life is weird. Here we go. Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And as per usual, this video is sponsored by me. Go subscribe to the email list on my website if you so desire, or buy some of my merch. I don't know. You do you. Now, some of you may or may not be aware that I was involved in an incident on my show You Are Here with Elijah Schaffer on Blaze TV on our last episode of the year, which was on the 17th of December, for those of you who need all the details. It was, in fact, a beautiful way to round out 2021. It really gave me the warm and fuzzies. I will play the clip, but for those of you who haven't seen it, and for context and a refresher, we brought on a guest called Jack Murphy, and the show was going really well up until the end when I was reading Super Chats, and I read one that referenced an article that he had written some years ago, and he got very upset and swore at me. And then at the end of the show, he got up and briskly walked away. Like I said, I will play that clip now, but for those of you who want to see the full episode or think there's more context to be had from watching it, I will link it in the description box and also give you the timestamps that are the most relevant so that you don't have to find them yourself. So yeah, here's the clip in question.
Mr. Dick and Balls says, "Hey Jack."
See, that's what she does. She does this. Like, she reads it like that's normal. Like, she's not even saying, I'm not gonna skip the name. She just goes, Mr. Dick and Balls said.
Could you please clear up the cuck article you wrote?
I am not going to talk about
Again?
this.
Okay.
And basically, you know what? Fuck you for bringing this up right here and right now.
Me?
Why are you doing this to me?
I didn't know that. I didn't know what it was.
Well, just use a little bit of fucking common sense.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah. Fuck you.
Elizabeth
Heartfelt.
Harrison says, gonna miss the show, but have a good break. IHTAC, what's that? What?
Nothing. I literally was just coughing. It's just an inconvenient cough.
So since this incident, a couple things have happened, and while I initially had decided that I wasn't really going to comment publicly or say anything about it, just sort of let it run its course, some things have been said that I think misrepresent me and my actions, and I would like to clear those things up. A general rule of thumb with me is that I don't really like participating in drama, particularly when it comes to other content creators or commentators or whoever, simply because I really think it just detracts from what I do, which is to make content that hopefully can expose people to new ideas or change their mind, or, in the really long run, promote right-wing values and hopefully in some capacity be able to change the direction of the country that I live in. But when people say things about me or about a situation that I'm involved in that are blatantly untrue, or things that paint me in a really unreasonable light, without defending myself or giving me a platform to come back at you and set the record straight, that is the point where I feel like now I need to say something. And that's what we're going to do now. So Jack Murphy went on Tim Pool's Timcast IRL a couple days after the incident happened with me on You Are Here. And due to the volume of comments and super chats and questions about what had happened between us, they addressed it on the show.
Well, people are mad at you for yelling it.
They're like, we can talk about that. Yeah, for sure.
I think they're using, a lot of people don't like the article. A lot of people are using that because they're mad at you, but I think the anger comes from you yelling at Sydney.
Right. So here's what happened with Sydney. So I'm sitting on the show and we're talking and they're joking about reading super chats where people are building like gas chambers and she's reading out loud like, how did I build this gas chamber that didn't kill all the Jews that I was supposed to kill, right? It's like insane, the super chats that she reads. And so I'm telling her this whole time, I'm like, hey, you might want to read all the super chats before you read them out loud, right? A little bit of a warning. And then she asked me the question about the article, and I answered it politely. I deflected. I was like, that's not me. It's 180 degrees from whatever that article says. And I'd really rather not talk about it anymore. And then a couple minutes later, she literally asked me the same question all over again. And I cursed at her. I shouldn't have cursed at her. And I apologized, Sydney. I apologized to her that day and that night and the next day. And she accepted my apology. So I don't know why everybody's still butthurt. But I shouldn't have cursed at her. I should have just used amused mastery and just like laughed at her and dismissed her. But I didn't, because I had set a boundary and she crossed it. And that's part of being a man too, is saying, here's my boundary, please don't cross it. And then she crossed it. And I told her that I didn't like it. Did I use the right words? No. Should I have cursed at her? No. And did I apologize to her for that? Yes. Did she apologize to me for putting me in a bad spot? Yes. Did Elijah? Yes. Did Elijah and I go out for dinner and drinks afterwards? Yes. Has Sydney and I talked afterwards? Yes. So I don't understand why everybody's so white knighting, simping for her. She can stand up for herself. It's resolved. And in my mind, it's done. And to me, this is such a nothing burger in my life. I am so focused on so many other bigger, more important things that people chipping and chirping away at me at this are just so annoying.
It is true that Jack reached out and apologized to me. It's also true that he and Elijah caught up for drinks so that Elijah could better explain what had happened and potentially resolve the situation. Again, I think it's important to note, and I want to stress this, that Jack thought that I was acting out of maliciousness, which again, I don't want to put words in his mouth because I don't know what was said. This is just what was told to me. He thought that I was doing it deliberately, that I was trying to dredge things up and potentially embarrass him when that's obviously not the case. And I just don't operate like that. That's not what I do. I also want to highlight that at no point, not during the show, not before the show, not at any point in the entire time that I have known Jack, has it been told to me that A, this topic existed and this article in question existed, and B, that it was something that was off limits that we couldn't talk about. That was not stipulated. That was not brought up to any of us, not to me, not to Elijah, not to Brandon. This was not something that any of us knew about. So when these questions started cropping up, this was all new information to me. Jack said on Tim Pool that he made it very clear that he didn't want to talk about the article in question and that he made that expressly clear to us, and we brought it up anyway. Here's a clip of him saying that.
A lot of the super chats we got about, the Sydney and Elijah thing are people genuinely being like, I don't understand what that was. What happened?
With Sydney.
Yeah, they were like, what happened with that? What happened? But we addressed it.
Well, yeah, when the people clipped it, where all they see is me saying, cursing at her. But they didn't see the whole thing where I was like, let's not talk about that after I've addressed it. And then she brought it up again.
However, this was not said to us at any point during the You Are Here episode. Here is a clip of that for you.
Because you guys are the advertisers. That's why we try to get through all of these and read all your
All right,
comments.
I got a few
Even
more.
if you're trapping me. No, I want to read this one first. Because I started it and I'm going to finish what I started. Anamorphosis says, Elijah, and I apologize for this in advance, Jack, asked
boy.
Murphy about the article he wrote about literally cuckolding his wife. I wish I was joking. True alpha.
Wow. Wow, you went there with that. I have absolutely no comment on that other than to say that whatever people's perception is about that, it's 180 degrees wrong. And it has nothing to do with people think what they're thinking it to be today.
Are we talking about sex right now?
Do you know what cuckolding is?
I totally thought
It's
you were
where
reading...
you get a chicken and you hold it. And
no,
you love it.
I just blanked
and
out
then
for a
you-
second.
You make more chickens.
I just blanked out for a second.
I support you having chickens.
We
I
don't
have
kink
chickens.
shame.
I like chickens.
If you have a hen house, that's great. That's you should have your own eggs. Great.
We don't
supply-
kink shame.
Great for protein.
You Are Here does not kink shame. I want to bring that out, that we do not kink shame. If you hate women, don't want to have any sex at all, that's your lifestyle. Or if you're a nude model, that's your lifestyle.
You can in fact be you can be both at the same time.
Or if you want to sleep with trans Elijah, Ellie Schaefer.
Literally,
if you want to breed
if
him,
you want to have
that's
sex
okay.
with my ankles, maybe. Kez might allow it.
Something to note here too is that Elijah and I read all of our super chats. It's the one thing that we do on the show. I think it makes a lot of our viewers really happy. I really get a laugh out of reading them, and we read all of them, even if they're mean, even if they're funny, even if they're very loving and kind. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we like engaging with the audience. And so anybody who comes on the show should know in some capacity that we will be reading the super chats. Now, Jack makes mention in the Tim Pool episode that he highlighted to me that I should be reading ahead or reading the super chats before I read them out loud. Now, again, if he was saying that in reference to the fact that he wanted me to avoid super chats about this article and about cucking, then that wasn't made clear to me. That was not something that I picked up on at the time. That was not something that I knew he wanted me to do. I'm not a mind reader. I also want to highlight too that you guys are sneaky, and the way that you often get me to say really messed up stuff is by writing things in a way that when it's read phonetically sounds like something totally different. So I will actually note that because super chats and comments on YouTube do restrict some words, the way that some of these super chats were written and spelled was not immediately clear to me as I was reading them. Now, you can argue that's because I am a giant dum-dum, and you might be correct. I don't know. What I will say is that as I'm reading them, trying to get through them, trying to make sure that everyone is acknowledged and their comments are read, sometimes I don't put 2 and 2 together with what I am reading, which Jack referenced again on the Tim Pool episode.
So I'm sitting on the show and we're talking and they're joking about reading super chats where people are building like gas chambers and she's reading out loud like, how did I build this gas chamber that didn't kill all the Jews that I was supposed to kill, right? It's like insane, the super chats that she reads.
However, Elijah actually explained it like this.
Full on Holocaust denial super chats. And she reads it so innocently. And it's like, and it's always something that it's a horrible, and I'm listening, just laughing. Like she'll be like, how is it then that if like
are we gonna do the ovens and the cookies?
Yeah,
thing now?
no. She'll read she'll read
we'll
something
get
so innocently. She'll be like,
We'll get there.
But they're so good and get her. They'll be like, I love carpentry and building things, and I built a wood door for my shower, but the steam still got out while I was showering. How could wood keep steam in the shower and keep the gases in? And she'll read it. And she'll be like, I don't know. I maybe like she'll like respond. Maybe get like a different type of a glass door, and she just like moves on, and I'm just like
I do want to add here that the shower thing has only maybe happened a handful of times because I am getting better. I see you. I see them beforehand, and I know. But also, too, something worth mentioning is that I just don't hang out on these parts of the internet. So when people make these comments or they say these things, it goes right over my head. Half the time, the jokes on the show go right over my head. I don't know, maybe I'm just not clued in. So I'll say here that reading super chats about cuckolding and cucking one's partner just seemed like regular trolling to me, and I did not know what they were in reference to. I also apologized in advance in this next clip to Jack before I read the first super chat in this situation because of its content. You know, Elijah and I put up with a lot of trolling and a lot of, you know, silly inside jokes and things like that, but not everyone is prepared for that. So I wanted to basically highlight that what was coming might be weird or uncomfortable. Again, I did that because I thought it was trolling, not because I knew of the context behind it. As you can see, he responded fairly well in good humor. There was no context given to us at this point. I want to highlight as well, again, that he didn't say that this was a topic that was off limits, that he didn't want to talk about. There were no boundaries set, as he likes to say. Elijah and I made some jokes and we moved on. Someone then asked a second time, and the incident occurred. I was obviously very confused. I initially did not know if the anger was being directed at me or the super chatter. I initially thought it was the super chatter. And then I realized the anger was being directed at me, the swearing was being directed at me, and I was just sort of like, what? I've seen a couple people say that they wish that I had been more assertive in the moment, but like, guys, at the time, I was really shocked because I had not expected that. I didn't know what was going on. I was very confused, and then when I cottoned on to what was happening, my initial thought was, okay, don't understand this, not entirely sure what's happening here. Best to finish the show and then deal with this privately. When the show did end, Jack got up. I made an attempt to apologize or to at least ask what had happened and what had made him react that way. He told me to go fuck myself, or he either said go fuck yourself or he said fuck you again, I can't remember which, and then he left. At that point, Elijah went to go and talk to him to see if the situation might be resolved, and that is when they went to go and get drinks. Jack then apologized the next day. We had a conversation about it where we came to the understanding that the situation was just a unfortunate misunderstanding, and it just seemed done and dusted at that point. I said to him that I wasn't going to make a big song and dance about it. I didn't have any intention of commenting or making things worse or doing anything that might exacerbate the situation because, again, guys, I hate drama. I don't want to be involved in drama. It's not helpful. It seemed as though he thought that I was doing all of this to embarrass him, which you guys obviously know is not the case, and I've already stated that. And I also want to say here, too, that we have had so many guests on the show so far in the short time that it's been running, and not once have I ever gone out of my way to denigrate or embarrass somebody just for the sake of doing it. And I will note too that I've been sat opposite people that I really don't like as people. And I've been sat opposite people whose ideas really, really rub me the wrong way, whose ideas I never ever want instituted in any capacity because I think that they're corrosive. And yet in those situations, not once have I attacked them or embarrassed them or gone out of my way to be hurtful and unkind to them, because that is not the kind of show that we run. At no point during our show was I trying to trap him or dredge up his past. I mean, obviously, he successfully did that himself. So naturally, when I watched the Tim Pool episode, I was just really disappointed. The way it appeared, at least to me, was that blame was being shifted. And in addition to that, to help that blame shift, lies were being told. I'll extend to everyone a courtesy that was not extended to me and assume, at least for now, that Tim and his crew were operating from a place of resolution, not wanting to exacerbate the issue, just wanting to briefly discuss the drama and then move on from it. And for Jack, I will extend him the courtesy of assuming that he was purely mistaken in what he was saying and did not realize that he had not in fact set boundaries and that he had not in fact said that this was a topic that he did not want to discuss. As you can clearly see, he never said that. I really don't appreciate being made to look like I operate in a malicious way or go out of my way to do things to people that are unkind, that will trap them and ultimately embarrass them. And I don't like those claims being made without any pushback. I also don't like that people who are upset about the situation are being labeled white knights and simps because they expect that there should be a certain level of decorum exchanged between people who say that they are operating in the best interest of men and trying to be role models for those men. Whether that be defending your friends, staying calm and collected in the face of adversity, resolving conflicts, and so on. Personally, I don't think that not wanting me to be sworn at and yelled at in the face of a genuinely honest mistake constitutes as white knighting and simping. What I find interesting too was how Jack on the Tim Pool episode was very much able to answer questions about why he wrote the articles in question, why he said what he said, in a way that was respectful and reasonable. And, you know, for all intents and purposes, I think most people would have been understanding of what he had to say. Whereas when it was asked on our show, the response was a complete 180. On a human level, and maybe my view here might disappoint some of you, I try to extend to people the understanding of knowing that you're just a human being and sometimes human beings get it wrong. Sometimes our responses to things are not what we hoped that they would be. Sometimes we do and say things that kind of suck and that are sucky for other people and that put other people on the receiving end of crap that they might not otherwise have been exposed to if we'd just thought for a second longer or pulled ourselves back from the precipice before we did and said what we did and said. And so initially I completely and utterly had that feeling towards Jack where I was like, yeah, look, okay, I get it. It's not my favorite to be yelled at and sworn at for sure, but I also understand that, you know, Jack is a human being, and if something is coming up that really strikes a nerve and really hurts you or makes you feel something exceedingly negative, yeah, you might lash out. Fair enough, cool. Okay, it's not appropriate, shouldn't happen, but, you know, he's a human being. But again, like I said, I will extend a courtesy of giving the benefit of the doubt as to just be a decent person. In the event of these things happening, when you throw someone under the bus, as I feel has happened in this case, then, you know, I don't know, I guess my empathy for the situation or, you know, me trying to be understanding might dissipate somewhat. I know too that people have been looking much more deeply into Jack himself and his past and his writings and what have you, and again, this would disappoint some of you. I don't feel currently equipped to discuss that or equipped to say anything about it. However, other creators have said things about it, like The Quartering, Jeremy from The Quartering, for example. But I do believe in large part that this is something that Jack has to address himself and get to the bottom of himself, as he did so on Tim Pool. I know that many of you are very concerned, and many of you have been sending me things and videos and articles and what have you, and I want you guys to know that I have seen them, and I know that many of you who've been here for a really long time probably know how I feel about them and how I reacted to them, and I hope that you'll understand that in this particular video, this is not the time for like a takedown type situation. Not that I do that, but you know what I mean. It's not the time for it. I wanted to clear the air about things that were said about me personally and not bring in extraneous factors. But like I said, if you guys want to watch content about it or find out more, you can watch the Quarterings video, or there's lots of people posting about it on Twitter. So there you go. There's the situation from top to bottom. I hope that this will add some context to what went on. I know some of you have probably moved on from this and you don't care anymore, and that's all well and good. I get it. There are worse things happening in the world, like the IRS taxing you on stolen property. What is this? I will always try to extend to people in most situations a level of empathy and understanding for their actions, because again, I'm a human being. I've done stuff I'm not proud of. I've said stuff I'm not proud of, whatever. I think we've all been there. But when you are going out of your way to say things that are actually not true or misrepresent my character or shift blame onto me when I have done nothing but try to resolve an issue or be respectful of somebody or not exacerbate an issue, then I start to have problems. And again, like I said, in this situation, I think it's reasonable in some way to give benefit of the doubt, but I could be wrong. I've learned recently that there are a lot of people in the world who live action role play as the people that they want to be, and behind the scenes, they're anything but. And I think that many of these situations will inevitably expose those people for exactly who they are, and we can extend to them as much grace as we like, but at the end of the day, if you give people enough of their own rope, they will hang themselves. A really great and happy way to round out the year, but you know, this is the internet and it is 2021, and you know, what did we really expect after a year of complete nonsense? I do want to add here too that I am very appreciative of all the kind and loving messages that I received and the comments that people left. And also Sarah Gonzalez has been so funny through all of this. She was like, girl, if I was there, faces would have been melted off, and that makes me laugh. Go follow Sarah, she's absolutely wonderful. But yeah, thank you very much for being so loving and kind, and for, you know, particularly women who are feeling really sad and empathetic about all of this, I'm sorry. And for the men who, you know, were super lovely, I don't consider you white knights or simps or anything like that. I just think that no matter who it was, you know, if Elijah was being sworn at or Brandon was being sworn at, I think you guys would have responded similarly. And I think that goes to show that you're just good-hearted people. But that all being said, I hope all of you had a very happy and safe Christmas, and, you know, you guys have a very happy and safe New Year as well. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Be safe and well, and I will see you guys in the next video.